Hello there, my name is Marcos Montenegro and welcome back to another Data in the Wild episode hosted by Data Meaning. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel below and click the bell to turn on notifications to be the first to know every time we upload a new video. Today let's talk about how you can retrieve timestamp from one ID of the MongoDB. Many people don't know, but the ID auto-created by the MongoDB when you create any record there, any document there. That ID actually have inside of it the timestamp, but just coded in an hexadecimal figure. But today we will see how you can retrieve that information. Here, for example, I'm getting the MongoDB from the Outlook server. That can work in other MongoDBs, don't need to be the Outlook server, it's just for example. So what I'm doing here in the MongoDB input tool, you need to configure that option here, the include Mongo underscore ID field. That will be the field where you have the ID from MongoDB itself that auto-generated, I mentioned it before, and that will be your field to be used to get the timestamp. So here I'm getting the collection from the results in Outlook server. Here in that collection I don't have any column, any field with the timestamp. And let's say I want to see here what is the timestamp of my records here. So what do we need to do first here to get that timestamp? Like you can see, I did my my formula tool. In that formula tool, I'm splitting my logic in 3 steps. You can do all in just one formula if you want. It will be a bigger formula, but anyway, it will work very well too. But here I prefer to show you better to split in that 3 steps. The first step we need to get here is we need to get from that underscore ID field the first 8 characters from the ID itself. Because like you can see here in that underscore ID field, you have more than the ID itself. You have some OID and the codes and all that things we don't need. You just need really is the ID here. So the first thing we need is the 8 first characters of that ID, because actually that is the code created by that ID to you can retrieve the timestamp. That means for MongoDB the timestamp. Okay, you understand a bit more in a few moments. So what I'm doing here in that first step is I wanted to do by the regex replacing that instance. If you prefer to do it another way, doesn't matter, you just need to get that first 8 characters like I mentioned. So I'm doing here that regex replace, so I put here all the regex, that means the field I have that represent the field I have, and I have here as selection group that 8 first characters. Okay, so in that first step here, I'm saying I'm getting just that first 8 characters. Okay, so you already have that. What you need to do next is that's the 8 first characters are in the hexadecimal standard. So what you need to do is get that characters and convert from that hexadecimal to a decimal number, so an integer decimal number. With that, what are you gonna get as a result would be, of course, a decimal number, but that decimal number actually represents how much time passed from the begin date of the MongoDB. You understand a bit better in the next step. But that means how much time you passed from the starting time of the Mongo. Okay, it's not the timestamp yet, but already is a very important information for you. So what do you do next after you get that information in decimal is to really construct that date, that timestamp you want. So when I said the seconds, actually the time you get from the starting time of the Mongo is because, as convention, MongoDB, all the MongoDB, not just that one from server, all the MongoDBs have that date here as starting time of the database. Okay, so all the MongoDBs understand the first date, the first system date here is 70s January 1st. Okay, so that's the first date of the system. And what that timestamp from the ID do is calculate how much seconds passed from that first date. So when we did here that conversion in the last step, what you're getting is how many seconds you already passed from that 70s January 1st. So what we need to do in that last step to really get the timestamp is a datetime add to add all that seconds to the system begin date. Okay, so what I'm doing here, the datetime add, my begin date is, like I said, the 70th January 1st. Here is the seconds I calculated before. I'm just converted to number because in the last one is like a string, so that way I can ensure I will be with a number here on that step. And here the matrix will be the seconds, like I said, and that way I will be able to add all that seconds to my begin date. The note you need to keep in mind here is that date you're gonna get is in the UTC time zone, so 00. If you need to convert that for many reasons for your purposes, if you need to convert that date to your specific time zone, please do another datetime add here to convert to your time zone after that calculation. Okay, so once you have that, as a result, that will be what you get. So you're gonna get one new field, that date one we calculated here inside of the formula tool, and that date will have your time zone. Here I change it directly in my ID field. You don't need to do that. I did it here just to be simpler in my explanation, but in your cases you can do in another field just as reference for your date anyway, or like I said, you can create the date field already with all that 3 steps I showed to you inside of just that one field, so not needing to change the ID. Anyway, what you prefer, but the important thing here is to get all that logic to convert from the ID. And if you want to check if you are not sure that it really works for you, what you need to do is, like I'm doing here in that another container, you can get one other collection where you have the timestamp. Like here in that collection for the schedules, I have the timestamp one that was created, and you can do all that logic, all that process to take a look if that really works. I just moved the column I create to be here, easier to see. So like you can see here is in the same date and the same minutes, the same seconds, just not the same hour, because like I said, like I mentioned, the date you create here is in UTC time zone, and mine here creation date time is not in the UTC. So all the rest is equal, just the time zone is different. So you just need to in your date field, your calculated field, to be sure if you need to to have that in your time zone. You just need to add the other datetime add formula to convert to your time zone, and it will be your creation time as well. Okay, so that's all for how you can get timestamp from the ID from MongoDB. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to know when future videos are posted. Thanks for watching!